Badges. So when you go to industry events like SHOT Show, you're going to get a badge. We've been getting badges for 15 years, and for the most part, they're the same size. They got a little bigger over the years. But when you get back to 2005, this was the first badge I ever got from SHOT Show, and they gave it to me in this thing. So lots of stuff like this out there. When you get badges at events like NRA show, you get a badge. Gun Rights Policy Conference, they even have badges. Now theirs have a hole in them, but still, it's just a little cheesy to walk around with, like a little backstage pass looking thing. You go to some gun shows and other industry events, you're going to get even smaller badges. So these are a little tougher. Again, they can be used with something like this, or against some of the real cheesy kind of throwaway stuff like this with a pin on it, or some of these that are, I guess, designed to make them a little bit waterproof, but with open tops and stuff, they're not really waterproof. They're certainly disposable. The glare on these also ends up being kind of difficult. When you get to some of the newer badges, they've got codes on them, and the vendors at the shows will use those codes. So badges are a thing. Badge holders can help with your first impression. They can help with your overall experience at the show. So when I got this handed to me the first year, even back in 2005, I knew it was weak, and this was my first badge holder. There was a giveaway from Stag Arms. I saw they were giving these away, and immediately I saw the advantage of having something like this where I could keep business cards, a pen. I don't know what this little tiny pocket is, but when they have multiple pockets, sometimes you can keep your own business cards. You can have a place to put the business cards you collect. And then, of course, your badge is out there. And usually there's a sturdy lanyard or some sort of a strap on it. Sometimes like this one with... Oh no, this one doesn't have. Sometimes they have a breakaway, so you don't have to worry about getting hurt with it or anything. But what's nice about these two is that they're larger than something like this, so you don't misplace them. So those are my first two badges, and then over the years we've gotten a lot more. So we started out with some of the cheap throwaway stuff. Kind of the next step up, for a couple years, Nissan sponsored the media room at SHOT Show, and they kept giving us these things, which technically are supposed to be badge holders, but they're Velcro dry sacks, really. So you open up the top, there's two Ziploc thingies that fold. So right away there, that's waterproof, and then you got this Velcro lock. And although it's 3 steps away from being disposable, it's really not. And these things are kind of neat. They'd be good for holding like important papers while you're camping or something. So these are kind of neat. They have a dual use, and I keep them in the collection because they're neat. But most of them are cheap, like this Stag Arm, something they can buy inexpensively, and a lot of times they'll brand them. In the early years, they just branded them with their names. This one was from another, it's kind of like the SHOT Show for surplus stores. That's a neat show. A lot of times they're branded with the company, or the company even makes them, but most of the time they're inexpensive like this, made out of materials that aren't real durable, and the pockets range from open pockets like this, which are barely a step up from a little plastic envelope, to something like this, where the kind of more traditional, modern design, I guess, where you've got a place where you put your pass or your badge and it gets locked in, and then you've got some access out here, but your badge stays secure and clean and everything in there. But I keep these things because it's interesting. I just kind of noticed over the years that people go at these things lots of different ways. People use them differently. This one here is like a towel or something. This one's like a real plush material. It's almost like you could keep your hand in here like a mitten. Interesting. So that's Next Star. And you can see, if I were to get into the designs, this Personal Defense World, a publisher, had these in really interesting kind of slant pocket, a totally different design, just an open pocket. This Olight is basically the kind of more traditional. This one's weird because while it looks traditional, it's got this pocket that's useless because it's covered, and then your badge holder's up front. And of course, you notice the similarity between all of these is there's no Velcro on them. This one's super well made. It's still imported, I'm sure, but real well made, with a big patch or something on there. Then here's a 511. This one was probably something they might even sell. Slide fire. This one might be worth something just because of who was giving it out. And you can see this one's made of Tyvek, so almost like a cloth. Now this one came with a Palladian bag, and this was kind of an insert admin pouch, but then because it's got the buttonholes, it can be used as a badge holder as well. Kind of medium. I don't know if you'd really use it for that. Camelback. Now, made in Philippines, so not quite China, but this is really a nice one. And this was maybe around 2010 or so, maybe a little earlier. They started to come out with nice ones from multiple companies, and Camelback was one of the companies that would hand them out at SHOT Show. I'm not a super big fan of Camelback, so I don't have a bunch of those. This one is from Expedition, and you know, they make stuff, so for them building this was almost like giving away product. But this is something they probably do sell also on their websites. But you can see that we finally get into some Velcro. And the smart ones will have, well, I don't know if it's smart or not, they'll have Velcro on it. Sometimes they put their name also, like this, where it's not just a patch you can take off. Problem is, as soon as you put another patch on top of here, you've covered their logo. But good for us, bad for the people trying to market with their badge holders. But very few of these things are made here. So far, nothing we've looked at is made here. Now we find something that's made here. This is really a wallet from Spec Ops out of Texas. However, they did make it in a way that you can put 550 here and a smaller badge in here and use it as a badge holder. But technically, it is a wallet. It's a really nice wallet, actually. If I liked this form factor, I used it for a while, I would use that again. Now we get into another Spec Ops wallet. This one is more of a badge holder and a wallet. So this one of the most useful badge holders out there, I think. It's got this small area that's fairly protected. Their patented little lip thing that isn't Velcro, so it's very silent but very secure. This is stiff. This is like inside of a milk. It's like a milk jug inside here. This is like a milk jug. So together they stay connected. It actually works really well, and it's soft but still rigid. Anyway, this obviously you can see places for business cards or credit cards, money, and a zipper place to put even more money. Really neat wallet. I'm not sure what they call this model of wallet, but again, real good badge holder as well. Another Maxpedition, and you can see this one it's going nuts. It's also a wallet, so all this stuff. Multiple ways. A lot of times sometimes badge holders will have these side things to give you a waist belt, and I guess that would be for like doing stuff with airplanes, or you know, there's a lot of wind maybe. So this one's similar to the Spec Ops, made in USA, wherever they say it, made in Taiwan. So the big difference there is not US materials, 500 denier nylon. Like this feels rugged. This feels like it's a piece of gear. Next we get Eagle, and I have a lot more I had a lot more Eagles. I've traded them. For a long time, Eagle would offer them for free at SHOT Show, and each year it would be a different color. The green was my favorite, and I think this is a good form factor. You've got Velcro up front. They were smart to not cover their logo and just do the Velcro on the side, so you still get your patches on there, but you're still going to be playing an Eagle logo. You've got a couple of places to put cards or info that you find, and then your badge is separate, and it's all tucked in. They've got these little side things. Again, if you're doing this in an air situation where you have to keep this thing pinned to you, that would be great. You've got this pocket on the outside, and then I thought there was a way to get into this pocket. I guess not. So this is just so it doesn't get sweaty on you, and that's something we'll talk about here in a second. And then you got an elastic pen thing, which I think is nicer than just the flap of nylon, personally, but whatever. So I've also used stuff like this by jabbing a pen through this tab sometimes. And these can be really useful when you've got multiple places, depending on the situation. If it's too hot, you can sweat, or depending on if you sweat or not, you can definitely get sweat between you and a badge holder if it's hot out. Trust me, I've been to plenty of hot events, and you can definitely sweat. So putting other people's business cards in the back, they can get soggy. Putting your own business cards in the back, they can get soggy. So I prefer to put them in front. It also kind of is, again, part of the ritual or whatever, the transaction between you and the person you're dealing with opening up your thing and putting the business card away in front of them lets them know that you value it. You're not just sticking it in your back pocket or something. So Eagle knew that badge holders can get sweaty, and they put this layer of like webbing with some kind of cloth, absorbent cloth behind it, then the layer of Kindura nylon, and then the Velcro and everything. So this would keep some of that perspiration, sweat from the badge holder, I suspect. Next up is one of my favorites. This one's Blue Force gear. And of course, everything Blue Force gear, made in USA. And these are, again, something that they have at SHOT sometimes. They're smart again. Velcro on part. Plenty big. Still have their logo right there. Easy to identify. And this is like the Whisper material. Very thin, stiff, kind of rigid but flexible. Kind of almost rubberized on one side and nylon, I guess, on the other side. Very thin. Very lightweight. Super strong. And decent ones. Now, there's something else we'll get into perhaps where the size of these things and the relationship of how this flap comes down, depending on the place that's offering the badge or the press pass, it's going to sometimes get covered by the cover. So some people prefer these open ones because there's nothing to cover any part of your badge. Just kind of depends on your preference, I guess. Got a couple more that are branded. We got this LaRue one a long time ago, and kind of a goofy camo. Geisley has been doing their badge holder game a lot, so I got a couple of different in the Geisley collection. You can see some of them have ALG and everything. Maybe these are the older ones that don't. This one's in cool woodland, but then I got two of these, two different styles in multicam, and not always easy to get. Sometimes it's real easy to get, and a couple of styles in just the tan. And Geisley pretty much puts out the same badge holder each year. It's not a bad one, it's not a great one. It's like a fairly thin material. It's imported, no Velcro, but it's woodland, or I mean it's multicam, I guess, or woodland, and it's decent. It's got some functions. Not one I use though. Lastly, I guess, or close to the end here, we'll get into a couple of the ones that the NRA gives you. That the Bullpup Shoot gave us one back in 17. And I guess we've collected a couple others from NRA. So NRA knew even in 2010, I guess 9 even, that badge holders are useful, and they use that as a way to let people know who their actual media people are, which is kind of smart. Last, we'll get to the badge holder I use, and this one was made for us by, what was this made by? I want to always say, I think this, it was made by ATS. So these were made by ATS. I always want to say Sotec. But we were at SHOT Show 2008, and they were offering this very simple badge holder, and they were making them there at SHOT Show in the tent. It was one of the tents out back at the real convention center. Multicam wasn't brand new, but it was fairly new, and it wasn't easy to obtain material, and there weren't a lot of things made in it, really. So this is my favorite. I've got a couple. 3 of us were there, and we each got one. And like I say, I've traded over the years to get these from guys. These are non-branded, totally simple. Everything about it has worked well for me for like however many years that's been now. I guess, 12 years. So I've been using this one for a long time at pretty much every event, and it still looks brand new because it's made out of real nylon. There's just nothing to it. It's a piece of 550. I don't know how long they spent sewing it, but people who know what they're doing have a decent pattern, and none of the frills. Velcro's all mine, plastic's all mine, and easy to deal with. Nice and thin, even from back in the day when they're using real nylon. And that's a little bit of badge holders for 15 minutes. Done one of these badge holder videos a couple of times now, so some people just overlook this completely, and they walk around like this guy, and then there's people that walk around like this guy, and then there's the people walking around like this guy. Some of the people are walking around with these, but then you get the people that know what they're doing, and they've got professional looking stuff. So when you walk up to somebody, they're either going to get their first impression of, I've never been to a show before, I don't know what's going on, or I got this in line, they gave this to me, like, right? Or like, yeah, I do this for a living. So, badge holders, completely insignificant, non-issue, or one of the more important things that people overlook when they go to a show trying to present themselves or their project to the industry. Let us know what you think. Maybe we can do a live show about this. Maybe you can do a live show about this. Don't just watch the internet, be part of it. Thanks for watching.